Hi guys, good evening everyone. I believe hello. Just let me know if you can see me clearly or not. Just let me know if you can see me clearly or not. There is some problem with the voice, I believe. Hello. Just let me know clearly or not. There is some problem with the voice, I believe. Hello. The voice is not very clear. Just let me know in advance because when we start, there should not be this problem. In advance because when we start, there should not be this problem. Hello. Somebody says the audio is not good. Hello. 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 Is it clearer now? Hello. Is it clearer now? It's not echo, it's something else because I have changed to the mic. So I believe थोड़ा सा उसमें problem हो रहा है. Hello. Else because I have changed to the mic. So I believe थोड़ा सा उसमें. Just let me know if it is better now. I think now it should be better. Yes. I think now it's perfect. Because of changing the settings, I think there was some issue. I was not able to get to the right level where the voice is perfect. Right level where the voice is. Okay. So let us start with the session. Perfect. So today we are going to discuss some descriptive questions. Answer writing थोड़ा सा practice करेंगे because as you must have seen in the handout also of RBI for phase 2, the descriptive questions are although straightforward, but practicing them and doing as many as possible is very pertinent, very important. Otherwise, even though you know what the concept is, you will find it very difficult to remember and recall all those points, specific points, which will get you marks. Okay, so that is the objective of practicing these questions. This session is both for enrolled students and for non-enrolled students, and specifically for the enrolled ones. I've already given this PDF today in the evening, so you can take that out and you'll be able to have a better session in that case. Okay, we will try and have these sessions regularly. अगले 3-4 दिन regularly करेंगे. Uh, Unfortunately or fortunately, I'm trying to change the location to a better place जहाँ से कि हम ज़्यादा अच्छे से sessions regularly live कर पाएं. We have a better bandwidth and everything. And I've been so busy with that. तो पिछले 2-3 दिन live नहीं हो पाया because there were some very serious network issues. तो अभी कुछ permanent try कर रहे हैं so that we don't have those issues in the future. Because इस phase 2 के बाद हमें नबार्ड की तैयारी स्टार्ट करनी है. वी हैव टू स्टार्ट प्रिपरेशंस फॉर आरबीआई और सेबी की भी स्टार्ट करनी है रेगुलरली. ओके, so those issues should not persist. That is why I'm looking for something better, something more organized, जिससे कि ये सेशंस हम ज़्यादा रेगुलरली और ज़्यादा अच्छे से कर पाएं. ये सब प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं होनी चाहिए जो होती हैं. ठीक, तो चलिए आज का लेट्स स्टार्ट विद टुडेज सेशन. What exactly are we going to discuss? I hope the volume and everything is fine now. So we will take some questions from motivation, which is one of the most important topics for the examination. And we are going to take some questions from business ethics, which is again a new topic, and therefore its importance increases, you know, uh, way too much to ignore. And therefore it's important that we discuss at least some questions कि वहाँ से question आ गए तो lottery लग जाएगी. And if the even if the questions don't come from there, we at least know how to approach a question, what to do, what not to do, how to write, how not to write, all those things. Because 50 नंबर का objective है जो आप पूरे साल से practice करते आए हो. But equally important is your descriptive part now, which is also 50 marks for both ESI and FM. और उसके साथ साथ you have the third one, which is English descriptive. वहाँ की भी तैयारी, it will be much better to these questions. Okay, so let's start with the first question that we're going to take up today. If you want to contribute, you're most welcome. You can provide your own answers simultaneously, which will help you remember and recall things better. The more you participate, the better it is for you. जितना participate करोगे, उतना ज़्यादा आपके लिए better होगा. Again, for the students who are not writing phase 2, who are preparing for next year's examination, ये session तो important है ही. I don't see a lot of students. तो students सोचते हैं पहले phase 1 की तैयारी कर लें, फिर phase 2 की करेंगे. But that is not going to help. Okay, phase 2 की तैयारी साथ में करनी है. And now that the exam is descriptive simultaneously, जो students next year की तैयारी कर रहे हैं 2021 के exam की, these sessions are equally important for them as well. Number one. And number two is that the preparation strategy for phase 1 and 2 for the students who are going to write 2021 examination, वो हम बाद में discuss करेंगे after the examination. Okay. The focus right now is to provide as many good quality questions and answers as possible. Majority of the tests related to FM and ESI have been uploaded. 2-3 tests बचे हैं. FM के तो I think सारे upload हो गए हैं. All have been uploaded. ESI के some tests are left. Majority, 90% of the questions are in case study format, and as I said immediately after phase 1 की phase 2 में majority questions are going to be case study based, very lengthy. 30 minutes में 30 questions करना will be a task, है ना, धुएं निकल जाएंगे लोगों के. And therefore to keep it in mind and to practice in advance, majority 90% of the questions have been converted to case studies. सारे क्वेश्चंस को पुराने तरीके से नहीं डाला गया है, सब क्वेश्चंस को केस स्टडीज में कन्वर्ट किया गया है, सो दैट you are able to have a better experience and better mock. जिससे कि आप एग्जाम में जाओगे, you will be ready with the worst case scenario, which is that all the 30 questions are case study. So please take those questions regularly. वो questions please सारे करके जाइएगा. Even if you're not able to take the exact mock, at least submit it and see all the questions. Okay. टेस्ट को सबमिट करो, उसके बाद there is no limitation. You can see all the questions. कोई टाइम की बाउंडेशन नहीं है. Spend 2 hours on a test. It doesn't matter. Those 30 questions in one test are going to help you revise probably 60, 70 topics. Okay, if not less. So that is what I called reverse engineering. उसको यहाँ पर use करना बहुत important है. It's very important that you use it at this point of time. Okay. Perfect, Amit. धीरे धीरे ज़्यादा improve हो जाएगी. You're not writing it this year. Next attempt की तैयारी बहुत अच्छे से होगी. Don't worry about that. चलो, let us start. The first question is explain the concept. One second. Explain the concept of motivation. Very simple question. We are talking about motivation as a concept. तो यहाँ पे आपको introduce करना है. You have to introduce what exactly is motivation and what are the features of motivation. Describe its characteristics and significance. दो चीज पूछी है. Features and significance. Very simple question. I've given it 10 marks. There are 3 questions involved in one question. 3 areas which you have to touch. ऐसे questions 15 marks में भी आ सकते हैं. They can also be asked as 10 marks. This is not a statement based question. There are some questions which are statement based. इसमें कि आपको एक statement दे दी जाएगी and then you have to try and understand what is the core theme or the core topic that this question is touching upon and then you have to get to that. वो मैंने पिछले सेशन में डिस्कस किया था which was on survey. Okay. So let us start with the answer to understand how exactly to write these kind of questions. This is a sample answer, please understand, and this is not the answer that you have to mug up. याद करने से कुछ नहीं होगा. It's not possible because you probably are not going to get the same question in the examination. Same question आया तो लॉटरी लगी है, जो कि बहुत कम लगती है. तो आपको you have to try and understand how to write rather than focus on what is to be written. जो आपको लिखना है वो आपको पढ़ना है पहले. Then you have to identify what exactly do I write. You have to understand right here how to approach a question. Okay, that is the core objective. So what exactly does it say? Motivation की मैंने definition आपको दी है. Very simplified definition. Intensity, direction and persistence. If you write these 3 things in the examination, whenever there is a question on motivation and you have to define it, no examiner can give you less marks. He will be impressed the moment he reads such a clear definition. Okay. Intensity, direction, and persistence of effort to achieve what you wish to achieve. It is the driving force which stimulates an individual to initiate and sustain a behavior. Initiate and sustain a behavior. There is a biological, social, and a psychological state. थोड़ा सा इसको expand किया है. You can keep expanding on the same thing. Intensity, direction, persistence. Intense. You can talk about intensity. Okay. Intensity मतलब कितना depth में जा रहे हो. Direction मतलब किस direction में चल रहा है आपका motivation. Is it positive? Is it negative? And persistence मतलब how long are you motivated? Okay. Not to only initiate. Intensity will help you initiate. Persistence will help you sustain a behavior. इसलिए दोनों terms को यहाँ पर लिखा गया. That's why these 2 terms are written here. Okay. Try and remember the definitions of majority of the topics so that you're able to write a better answer. Because whatever topic comes in the exam, if you don't define it, you cannot create a very good impression on the examiner who's reading. Okay. Every action has an aim. Every action has certain good or bad consequences. Motivation can also be bad. I'm motivated to kill someone. I'm motivated to, steal something from someone. It can be as bad as you can imagine. So it can have bad consequences as well. These aims, rewards, and punishments serve as a motivation for engaging in action. So we're talking about behavioral motivation, wherein your objective defines your behavior. Okay, the reward that you're going to get defines your behavior, defines your action. Okay, so aims, rewards, and punishments that you're going to get as a reward serve as a motivation for either engaging in an action or not engaging in an action. These aims, rewards, or punishments create driving force which stimulates an individual towards an action. तो ये जो aim मिलता है, reward मिलता है, punishment मिलती है in case of a bad motivation, that only either drives you towards doing something or against doing something. For example, hunger is a biological drive. हमें रोज होती है. That is a motivation that unconsciously enters us and motivates us to eat every day. Rose hoti hai, every day the same thing happens. That compels an individual to eat some food. आप एक दिन भूखे रह के देखिए, have a fast for a day, see how your hunger motivates you to keep everything aside and then to just eat, right? Up RBI exam, SEBI exam, UPSC, everything will be kept aside. Nothing will be more important anymore if you do a fast of a day, and then your main motivation will be towards getting something to do. Okay. Similarly, relief from pain is a driving force compelling an individual to act to relieve the pain by eating medicine. आपको दर्द हो रहा है, you are motivated to relieve it. Okay. Features of motivation. Coming to the second part of the question, features and significance. Points में लिख सकते हो in the examination. A lot of students I ask that do not write essays in points. Of course, write them is they can be small paragraphs, but do not put down points because then it looks like an answer. However, you can and you should write your answers in points because points से लिखने से क्या होगा? The structure will be better. It will be easier for the examiner to understand what you're trying to say. You don't want to make life difficult for the examiner. That is the golden rule. Core mantra hota hai wo in performing well in any examination, especially in answer writing formats. You don't want to make the life of the checker difficult. You want to make it easy for him so that he's motivated to give you more marks. उसको लगेगा अच्छा लड़का अच्छा लिख रहा है. He's writing so good. It's so easy to read what he's writing. It's so easy to understand what he's trying to say. And of course, it does not have to be wrong. गलत नहीं होना चाहिए. Okay. So with pointers, it becomes much more structured, much easier for him to understand. Okay. Motivation is a personal and internal feeling which generates within an individual. Motivation हमेशा इंसान के अंदर होता है. It can never be outside. An outside force can motivate you to do something or not to do something, but it is always generated inside an individual, right? It's a human phenomena, or it's a phenomena which is limited to living. Rock के अंदर there is no motivation because there is nothing living in a rock. Okay. In plants there is a motivation. For example, touch me not. Whenever you touch a touch me not, it just compresses. It just folds. Why? Because it is designed in such a way that it does not want to touch you. So it is motivated to close down as soon as you touch it. That is a negative motivation or a protective motive. Okay. It is need based. If there is no need, this is taken from Maslow. So the best way to write features of anything that you are asked, आपने नहीं भी पढ़े हैं. You might be thinking, यार मैंने कभी features नहीं पढ़े. मैंने कभी I have never gone through characteristics of motivation. How do I write? The best way is think about all the theories, think about whatever you have read in the entire syllabus, the entire chapter related to that particular topic, and just summarize it. Maslow ने क्या बोला? Need. Okay, so you are writing that. Okay, if there are no needs of an individual, the process of motivation fails. It's a continuous and never-ending process. There are a lot of theories जो अभी हम बात करेंगे, which are circular or cyclical in nature. ऐसा नहीं है कि you do something, you get a reward, and then it finishes there. No, that reward provides a feedback for another activity. Feedback मिलता है another activity, and then you keep continuing with a cycle of activity, right? Motivation may be internal or external, positive or negative. So internal feeling hai, but it might be external as well, which means the driving force might be outside. Money, an external motivation. Self-actualization, an internal motivation, right? A house or a car, an external motivation. That doesn't mean that it is not an internal feeling anymore. It is still an internal feeling, but it can be external as well in its nature, right? The motivating force can be external. It can be positive, it can be negative. Is unique for every person. No two individuals could be motivated in the exact same manner. The criticism of Maslow. Maslow said, first need hoti hai, the first need is your physiological. The criticism is artists often live in very bad conditions, but they're still not motivated by money. A lot of artists, they're still not motivated by basic needs like food, money, sex. They're not motivated by these things. Why? Because their physiological need, basic need, is not anymore motivating to them. वो motivation नहीं देते. They're motivated only by self-actualization or by esteem or by social, anything other than. So it's unique for every person, yes, That is the criticism of Maslow. वहां से उठाया है. Okay. So basic features में अगर आपको लिखना है, if you have to write characteristics of anything, just try and summarize whatever you have read in the entire chapter. जो भी आपने पढ़ा है, whether it is criticism, whether it is a positive point related to any topic, just try and summarize that. I hope that helps you understand how to get to the characteristics. Okay. Raghu, descriptive part. Yes, I've started evaluating all the tests. As English test 3 and 4 were evaluated. Tomorrow English tests, the remaining ones, I think by tomorrow all the remaining English tests will be evaluated, and probably day after tomorrow I can start with evaluation of descriptive tests. Okay, but I'm holding these sessions so that the need of evaluating them is minimized because now we don't have enough time. इतना time ही नहीं है कि हम evaluate भी करें और साथ में ये sessions भी करें. तो हो सकता है evaluation थोड़ा delayed हो. That's why these sessions. So you have an understanding and you can self-evaluate your own test simultaneously as well. Okay. Biodata form is available along with the result. Okay. So let's move forward. Significance of motivation. Importance kya hai motivation? Again, flows with the features, flows with everything that you read. Directs performance. If you're not motivated, you will not be able to perform. Attainment of common objectives. Motivation from an organization's perspective. So, when you're talking about significance of anything, understand its significance from multiple dimensions. Not only from a person who is motivated, his dimension. Not only a person who's a leader from his direction, let's say we're talking about leadership, but also from a person who is being led, right? Also from the point of view of an organization which is motivating. Also from the point of view of a person who is being motivated. So दोनों dimension आ गए. Also from the point of view of the consumer who is a bystander and just looking at an organization motivating someone and an individual or an employee getting motivated. Okay. So multiple dimensions are important so that the examiner gets a holistic view of what exactly are you trying to say. It leaves a better impression. It's not very difficult. You just have to try and train yourself कि भाई multiple dimensions से बातें करनी है. Okay. So it directs performance of the person who's getting motivated. It helps in attaining common objectives for the organization, right? It helps in attaining common objectives for the organization which is motivated. Motivated employees put in their best efforts towards the attainment of common objectives of the enterprise. Motivation facilitates the best attainment of objectives in terms of time spent and efforts involved. Okay, I hope that's clear. Best utilization of resources from the organization's perspective. Again, common objectives are able to be reached. Utilization of resources is much better, much more efficient, much more organized. ज़्यादा अच्छे से आप resources utilize करोगे if your employees are motivated, right? Let's say you are making, for example, cars, and your employees are not motivated enough. And there is an employee who's not at all motivated and who is responsible for putting in those screws. He's responsible for screwing up your tire. Okay, putting screws onto the tires of the car. Okay, not screwing up. So up he's putting on screws onto the tires of the car and he's not motivated enough. So his उसका ध्यान कहीं और है. He's focused somewhere else and he's doing his work. A lot of monotony for him. He doesn't like doing it. What will happen? There will be more wastage of screws. वो गलत लगा देगा, टूट जाएगा screw. He'll have to do it again. He might break the internal uh, alloy also while putting screws to your vehicle. All those things will happen. Better utilization of resources happens when the team is motivated, when the employees are motivated. Stability of workforce. Of course, when you're motivated, ask SBI employees, ask bank employees, are they motivated to work in the organization? A lot of them are, but because of the work pressure, they don't want to work there anymore. बहुत ज़्यादा pressure है. It's a very demanding job. If you're not internally motivated to do it, you will leave. And that is actually good for the organization because जो employee motivated है, a person who likes doing a work will only stay. A person who doesn't like working in the bank, he will leave. Okay, ultimately because he's not able to take on the pressure. Okay, so it brings in more stability of workforce over a period of time because people who like to do it will stay. People who don't like to do it, who are not motivated by it, will leave. I hope that's clear. A motivated workforce does not look for another job or work because they can identify with the work. That is a keyword here. They can identify with the work. If you cannot identify with the work, of course, you will end up leaving the organization. Okay. And the goal of the enterprise. This brings stability in work. Need for direction and supervision. A motivated workforce is self motivated to the extent that it need not be directed at every point. Now that, let's say, you're not motivated enough, so your employer will have to come and tell you again and again, yaar, ye karna hai. Please do this. Let's say he's already done it. For example, let's say, uh, taking the example of my own small team, Neha ma'am, let's say she's not motivated. Okay, what will happen? She uses 4 or 5 sources every day, 4 or 5 newspapers every day to take out all the news for you guys. Let's say she's not enough motivated or she doesn't find any purpose in what she does. तो लगता है जीके तो क्या important है? It's not important at all. Okay, she just takes it as an experience that she's having and she wants to leave whenever she gets a better option. What will happen? She will end up leaving some important news every day. That will happen automatically. But if she's motivated, which I have to figure out that she is, every team member is in his or her own work, then she will leave no stones unturned to make sure that she doesn't leave anything that is important for you. कुछ भी आपके एग्जाम के लिए important is she should not be able to leave. Okay, so I don't have to direct and supervise her every day. I don't have to read everything that she makes every day because I don't have that much time. मैं आपके लिए ये क्वेश्चन बनाऊंगा या फिर रोज जीके पढ़ूंगा, नॉट पॉसिबल. One person can do only so much work, right? So it helps in creating a self-sustainable organization wherein all the employees are directed, self-directed in their own work. Okay, positive work environment. Motivation brings positivity in the work environment, driving everyone together towards a common goal. It automatically creates a positive work environment. When you're motivated, you like your work. Let's say you're motivated as a civil servant. When you're going for the job every morning, you will love it. I love what I do. I love that I teach. I would probably not be able to have a fulfilling life if I was a civil servant. I love what I do right now. So every morning I don't have to push myself to get up and go for work. When I come to work, I like it. So it creates a positive work environment. I'm happy in my environment. Okay. So that is what happens when you're motivated internally. Minimum resistance to change. I'm connecting it with change. I'm connecting it, number one, with change, and number two, with the organization's perspective. Abhi organization ka perspective hai, right? If an organization wants to change something, wants to carry out some changes in the way things happen in the institution, in the organization, motivated employees will automatically take it positive. Yes, this is happening. It will result in better work tomorrow. It will result in more output. It will result in better experience for the customers, for the clients. Okay, so resistance to change is minimized. Okay, I'm explaining all these things to you so that you understand how multidimensionality work, but you don't have to focus a lot on multidimensionality. Yeah, basics ही भूलता. What are the basics of importance of motivation? How is motivation important for an individual, and how is motivation important for an organization? Organization के लिए क्या हुआ? Resistance to change कम हो गया, right? Direction की need कम हो गई. Number two, then workforce नहीं छोड़ेगी. Labor turnover is minimized. Number three, utilization of resources maximize हो गया. Number four, कॉमन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स अचीव हो गए. नंबर 5, परफॉर्मेंस जो है वो इम्प्रूव हो गई टीम वर्कर की. नंबर 1, वर्क एनवायरनमेंट पॉजिटिव हो गया फॉर ऑल दी अदर एम्प्लॉइज ऑल्सो. नंबर 2, democratic leadership, very important, connecting it with leadership. Okay, from the organization's perspective, the leaders does not have to be autocratic anymore. He does not have to direct you and tell you what to do and what not to do every day. He can go forward and follow democratically. He can delegate and decentralize and leave a lot of work to you guys. I hope that's clear. इशिता इज सेइंग कितने वर्ड्स का लिखना होता है आंसर एग्जाम में पता चलेगा कि कितने वर्ड्स यूज किए हैं. Not possible to for me to forecast, but I would say that you try and write a 10 marker in about 150 to 200 words because the time that they're giving you is a lot. We're giving you 90 minutes for 4 questions, two 15 markers and two 10 markers. तो अगर हम टाइम से डिवाइड करें तो 90/4 कितना हुआ? Let's say 90/4 करते हैं, इक्वल वेटेज देते हैं. So about 20 minutes they're giving you per question. 20 into 4, 80. They're giving you about 20 minutes for 10 markers, let's say, and 25 minutes for 15 markers, which is a lot of time. You can think a lot, you can create a rough structure on paper, and then you can write. 20 marks, 20 minutes for one question is a lot of time. UPSC में 6 से 7 मिनट मिलता है to write every question's answer. And now you're getting 3 times the time, okay? 3 times the time. So that means you can think and you can write, okay? So about 150 to 200 words for 10 markers would be a very easy job to be written in 20 minutes, and about 250 to 300 words for 15 markers. That would be a good, very good, write up from the examiner's point of view as well. चलो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं. राइट अ शॉर्ट नोट ऑन हर्जबर्ग्स टू फैक्टर थ्योरी. ऐसे शॉर्ट नोट्स आ सकते हैं in the examination. And one more thing, there in the information handout that they've given up, that they've given, RBI has given, there are 2 questions in management, out of which one question is from HRM. It's from performance appraisal. A lot of students were asking me, sir, HRM kare na kare, it's not given in the syllabus, and I keep telling, ki bhai kar lo. You don't want to leave that gap. You don't want to take that risk now that you're writing phase 2, and you've already done it before. Why do you want to leave it immediately before the examination if you spend 1 month in the past going through HRM, right? So what has happened is now, because they've given performance appraisal in the information handout, that means they can ask it in the examination as well. If not subjective, objective to aayega hi aayega. So I would recommend again that you please go through it and read it. Okay, do that. So the next one is a short note on Herzberg's two-factor theory. Herzberg tried to answer the question. The answer is, what do people want from their jobs? Very simple introduction. What did exactly Herzberg say? There can be 100 different ways of introducing the topic. You can just talk about two-factor theory, whatever Herzberg said. Herzberg concluded that the replies people gave when they felt good about their job differed significantly from the replies given when they felt bad. So whenever they felt good, they made they put the responsibility on their internal feelings, on their internal motivation, and whenever they felt bad, then they put the responsibility on external factors. अच्छा लग रहा है तो internal factors. I am the responsible person. I have done it. The same as it happens with God. Whenever something good happens, you say, I'm responsible for it. I have done hard work. And whenever you felt bad, whenever there's a tricky situation, bad situation, then you go to God and you say, please let me come out of this situation, this problem, kuch kar do mere liye. Okay, that is what we do. The same thing happens here, as mentioned by Dr. Herzberg, saying that whenever something good happens, you say that internal factors were responsible. Whenever something bad happens, external factors were responsible. According to Herzberg, hygiene factors are external factors that remove dissatisfaction. So he said, went on to divide motivation into 2 factors. There are motivators and then there are hygiene factors. Hygiene factors responsible to remove your dissatisfaction, but they cannot satisfy you. Okay? But fail to provide satisfaction. Okay. Motivators are internal factors that bring satisfaction. Okay? It was inferred by Herzberg that opposite of satisfaction is not dissatisfaction. In fact, opposite of satisfaction is no satisfaction, and opposite of dissatisfaction is no dissatisfaction. That's the core of Herzberg's theory. Okay. Whenever you're writing a descriptive answer, you have to expand a little bit. थोड़ा सा खींचना पड़ता है जी. You have to explain things to the examiner. You cannot. अभी तक हम we've been reading in the format of objective. हम बस याद रखते थे कि Herzberg two-factor theory, hygiene factors, motivators, hygiene factors, dissatisfaction, no dissatisfaction, motivators, satisfaction, no satisfaction, and we're done. हमने वो visualize कर लिया chart, and now we're done. Whenever there is an objective question, we can also always eliminate and come to the right answer. That won't work here because you know that you have to write, you have to expand a little bit. थोड़ा बढ़ा के लिखना पड़ता है. Okay? So to talk about things in detail, you have to come to dissatisfaction and satisfaction slowly. You first introduce internal factors, external factors. Then you introduce hygiene factors and motivators. Then you connect both of them. Okay, that's how you do it. If we link Herzberg's theory with Maslow's theory, we get the following as motivators and hygiene factors. So you create this link to get those brownie points so that the examiner feels that you know more than the other person. Maintenance or hygiene factors, physiological safety, social and external, motivators, internal esteem, and self-actualization. ये दो में divide करो. You can also, because it is a computer-based examination, so you cannot create the chart. आप ये वाला चार्ट तो यहाँ पे क्रिएट कर ही नहीं पाओगे जो हर्सबर्ग ने दिया था इस तरह से. You cannot do that. So the alternate is, because this will be a major confusion among students. The alternate is that you try and start writing about all these things. For example, यहाँ पे because it's a short note, so I've not written it. But what you can do is, for example, you can say what is dissatisfaction, okay, and you can say what is no dissatisfaction. So these are the outcomes that you are explaining. Okay, dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction is one end of hygiene factors, wherein if a person is not able to achieve his hygiene factors, then he is dissatisfied. No dissatisfaction if a person achieves or attains the hygiene factors which are given above, जो मैथ्स में बता दिया हमने, then he is not left dissatisfied. Okay, but that does not mean that he's satisfied. Now you're connecting to the next part. So what is satisfaction? So you talk about satisfaction now. Give it another point and write about it. Satisfaction is attained when a person is able to attain motivators, and those motivators result in satisfaction of the employee of the team member. No satisfaction when the motivators like self-actualization or internal esteem needs are not attained, then a person is in inverted commas not satisfied. Okay, I hope that's clear. इस तरह से आप, this is how you can write very clear terms and give a very positive mark on the examiner. That's your objective. उसकी life simple बनानी है. He should feel that you understand what you are writing and you understand the topic. ठीक है ना? That's all he. Okay, a lot of questions. Okay, let me move forward. थोड़ा सा और discuss करते हैं. Before talking about McGregor's theory, what is the time? 21:18. थोड़ा सा बहुत late हो जाएगा. Let me talk about something from business ethics. एक question और लेते हैं motivation पे, then we talk about, because these questions are similar. What is the third question? Okay, this is simple, straightforward है. ये भी straightforward है. Adams equity theory. ये वाला पढ़ लेते हैं because Adams equity theory is pretty long, so you will be able to understand how to structure your answer. That is very important. थोड़ी लंबी सी थ्योरी है तो स्ट्रक्चर करना इंपॉर्टेंट है. आई वुड रिकमेंड कि जितने भी एनरोल्ड स्टूडेंट्स हैं, प्लीज गो थ्रू द डॉक्यूमेंट दैट आई हैव गिवन यू टुनाइट ओनली. आधा घंटे में पूरा कवर कर सकते हो एंड दैट विल गिव यू अ वेरी गुड इनसाइट एज टू हाउ टू राइट ऑल दीज काइंड्स ऑफ क्वेश्चन. ओके, देयर इज नो बफरिंग एनीमोर आई बिलीव. राकेश हिंदी में बोलेंगे, सो देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम, लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स डोंट अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी. दैट इज व्हाई व्हाटएवर आई स्पीक इन हिंदी इज रिपीटेड इन इंग्लिश, बिकॉज हिंदी वालों को अंग्रेजी आती है, अंग्रेजी वालों को हिंदी नहीं आती. ओके, तो जिनको नहीं समझ आएगा उनको समझाने के लिए इंग्लिश बोलना जरूरी है. हिंदी वाले इंग्लिश समझेंगे तो भी अच्छा है, बिकॉज दैट्स हाउ द एग्जाम है. ओके, शॉर्ट नोट्स ऑन एडम्स equity theory. आपको बोल दिया शॉर्ट नोट लिखो. Let's say it is a 10 marker. Although I have given it as a 2.5 marker, I've given 4 parts to this short note. मैंने एक short note ना देके question 4 में I've given 4 parts and the total combined weightage is let's say 10 marks. तो मतलब एक short note 2.5 नंबर का हो गया. 2.5 नंबर का मतलब कितना लिखोगे? 30 से 40. Okay. However, I have explained the Adams equity theory in detail here. Let's say the question is of 10 marks individually. Then how will you write? So Adams equity theory. So equity theory पहले explain कर दी briefly. You explain equity theory in brief first. Equity theory is based on the assumption that members of an organization experience strong expectations of justice, balance, and fairness. This is the कीवर्ड और द कीवर्ड्स इन इक्विटी थ्योरी. आपको equity experience करनी है organization में. You want to experience equity. How will you experience equity? Through justice, through fairness, through balance. If you see or feel that there is injustice against you, or if you see or feel that there is unfairness, there is nepotism, there is imbalance in the way organization is working, then what will happen? That will result in inequity. Inequity hogi, so there, if there is inequity, there is either a guilt or there is dissatisfaction. Anger hoga, there will be anger or there will be guilt. In both the situations, you would want to change that injustice, that feeling or that situation of injustice, right? So explain karte hain ek karke. What is equity theory? Based on the assumption that members of an organization want to get the feeling of or want to experience strong expectations of fairness, justice, and balance. Okay, when a person feels that he's being treated unfairly, fairness को उठा लिया, or there is injustice or there is imbalance, it can have adverse effects on motivation, because Adam's equity theory, after all, is connected with motivation only. Okay, motivation and performance on the job. Equity theory helps in understanding causes as well as consequences of feelings of inequity. Now coming back to equity theory, what is equity theory saying? कि भाई there is injustice or there is a feeling of imbalance or unfairness among an individual in the organization. Okay? How do you remove this? Equity theory will tell you that. Equity theory says, I will tell you that. What is the reason of this and what is the consequences of this and how can the member get out of that situation? वो member कैसे उस situation से बाहर निकले? How can he come out of that feeling? Okay. Two variables are important to study equity: inputs and outputs. Inputs or outputs, दो variables हैं. Inputs are efforts and outputs are rewards which the member receives. So equity theory is based upon these two features or these two factors. Input कैसा है, output कैसा है, or what is the ratio of input and output of an individual to others in the organization. That is what we get to ultimately, right? Input and outcome. Individuals create a ratio of input and outcome to find out whether there is a state of equity or not. What are the causes behind inequity and what are the consequences? Coming back to causes and consequences. Okay. There is anger, there is satisfaction, and there is guilt. In this situation, you cannot, of course, create a chart there or you cannot create a table there online, but you will have to write it in statement format. So when there is, when upon comparison of individuals' outcome is to individuals' input with other person's outcome to input is positive or is more, then there is inequity which results in guilt. Whenever there is the proportion of individuals' outcome to input is less than others' outcome to input, then there is an inequity resulting in anger. And when both of these proportions are the same, then there is equity, a feeling of equity and satisfaction among the employees. इस तरह से आपको ये एक एक करके लिखना है. I hope it's clear. ठीक है. There are four comparisons made by an employee on the basis of the feeling above, anger, satisfaction, or guilt. There will be four comparisons made. Self-insight, an employee may compare his present job position to a different position inside the same organization. ये आपको याद होने चाहिए. You have to remember these things. Self outside, a person making comparison of himself between this organization and the same profile in another organization. Okay. Others inside, comparison with another individual inside the organization. मैं जीके बनाता हूँ, ये PIB 247 बनाते हैं. I paid let's say 10 lakh per year and he's paid let's say 20 lakh per year. Why is he getting paid double of me? That can be a question. Okay. I'm working as a manager in the bank and the other person is also working as a manager in the same bank. He's working in credit department or sales department. I'm working in, let's say, customer department. I'm working in cash department or I'm working in loan department. Okay. वो sales में मैं loan में हूँ. And my salary package is 15 lakh per annum. His salary package is 25 lakh per annum. Why is it so? Okay. Now you're comparing two different departments, but let's say both of us are managers. Okay. So that might bring in inequity when you're comparing with another person. or you compare another person with another person outside the organization. I'm working in Axis Bank, another person is working in HDFC. My package is 15 lakh per annum, his package is 20 lakh per annum. Compare that. You want to move there because he's getting paid more. Okay. Or he's got more opportunities, he's got better services, he gets loan at subsidized rates, he's got a car by the company, blah blah blah. All those things are perks. Based on these comparisons, six references are drawn and corrective action is taken. So there are three steps to equity theory. Number one, you find out whether you are in equity or inequity. Let's say you are in inequity. Anger है या फिर guilt है. In both the situations, you will make comparison. आप अपने आप को you will compare yourself with another person. Let's say you have made that comparison, you've come to a conclusion. Okay. Then you will draw six consequences. कि अब मैं क्या करूं? What do I do now that I am in this situation? Okay. You either change the input, they choose to increase or decrease his inputs to the organization. Input is how much you work. Okay. Let's say there is guilt, which means that you're getting 15 lakh per annum. However, you're working only worth 10 lakh per annum. आपको गिल्ट होगा कि यार मैं काम बहुत करता हूँ, मुझे पेमेंट बहुत ज्यादा मिलती है. Not does not happen. Often happens, very rarely, but let's say it happens. मैं काम बहुत कम करता हूँ. I work very less, but I get paid too much. Then you will change the input. You will change the input. You will try and increase the input. मैं काम बहुत ज्यादा करता हूँ. I get paid very less. Happens a lot of times. Majority of the times, this is what is happening with us. We often say, I work so much and I get very less output, right? मुझे इतना ज्यादा काम करता हूँ. I don't get any perks. I don't get any motivation. I don't get any special treatment from my company. We are referring again to companies because that is how we can relate with these theories. Okay, I work so much, but I'm not getting paid enough, or I don't have enough perks. So let's change the input. Let's decrease my work. मैं काम ही नहीं करूँगा. Okay? I will work less. Change output. The next one is change outcome or output. So outcome is the employee may change his outcome by requesting a salary raise or asking for a bigger office. मैं काम तो बहुत ज्यादा करता हूँ. मेरी फाइल भरी पड़ी है ऑफिस में. मुझे 4x4 का छोटा सा ऑफिस दिया हुआ है. I want a 6x6 bigger cabin. Okay? So that is changing the outcome. Asking for a change in outcome. Distort perception of self. Rather than actually changing the inputs, the person may change his perception. I worked a lot harder than I thought. मैं काम कम कर रहा था, but I was getting paid a lot, right? This happens very often. मैं काम बहुत कम कर रहा था, but I get paid a lot, and then there is a guilt in me. एक छोटे से instant के लिए there is a guilt in me telling me that you work so less but you're paid so more. This is not fair. And then you satisfy yourself by replying that maybe I don't recognize how much hard work I do. I think I do a lot more work than I think, and that is why the organization is paying me so much. इसलिए मेरी इतनी value है organization, right? Happens very often. That is how we satisfy ourselves. Distorting perception of others. X's job isn't as good as I thought. Let's say SDFC wala guy is getting a paycheck of 20 lakh per annum. I'm in Axis Bank, I'm getting 15 lakh per annum. But then, in order to satisfy myself, I say, oh, his condition is horrible. He works from 9 to 9. I work from 9 to 5. Okay. So that is another way of satisfying yourself or telling yourself or coming back to a position of equity. Choosing a different referent for comparison. Find out another person. Probably that person is not the right comparison for me. Although he's a manager in HDFC, I'm a manager in Axis, both are in the same departments, but their work profile is a lot different. The credit department of HDFC is focused on commercial enterprises. Our company is focused on retailers or loans. I think it does not match. Let's go to another bank. Let's go to Yes Bank and see how are people paid there with respect to the work that they do. So that is how you can change your comparison. And then the final one is quitting the job. आप नौकरी छोड़ देते हो. This is not the right thing for me. Too much guilt, too much anger. Let me leave the job. Find another profile, another enterprise where I might be in equity. Okay. So that is another way of creating equity within yourself. Okay. Chalo, let us start with another question. I hope it's clear. A corrective action only. Na? A corrective action brings back the employee to a state of equity and provides motivation to contribute. Equity theory used by managers to determine wage and salary structure in an organization. I hope that is good enough for concluding. I hope and I'm sure कि इन questions से थोड़ा बहुत idea तो लगा होगा. You must have received a better idea as to how to attempt these questions. Okay. You can go through these theories in order to have a better understanding these questions and answers. जिससे आपको better understanding हो. Let's come to business ethics now. Okay, first question लेते हैं. The fifth question here in business ethics. The question says, of course, business ethics is going to be an Achilles heel, heel for you guys because this is something which you've never studied before, something completely new. मैंने भी आपको पढ़ाया नहीं है. I've taught you very briefly, very recently only. So I don't think बहुत ज़्यादा clarity होगी. So I thought let's take some questions on business. Define business ethics and discuss its nature. So there are two questions here. First of all, we have to define what is business ethics. Secondly, we have to discuss its features or nature. And then third, importance. तो ये तीन चीजें बहुत ज्यादा pertinent होती हैं for any examiner to judge your understanding of every topic or any topic. To define something, number one, to explain its features, number two, and thirdly, to explain its importance. Okay, ये तीन चीजें बहुत important. Business ethics means a set of ethical standards that govern business activities. So, what is business ethics? A set of ethical standards that govern business activity. Okay? It is the study of what is ethically acceptable and desirable in the business. Business के लिए क्या acceptable है and what is desirable. The purpose of business ethics is to guide managers and employees in performing their jobs. Ethics lay down the norms of behavior to be performed by business. This is the core of meaning of business ethics. Business ethics tell us what should be done, what should not be done, how something should be done, how something should not be done. Okay, why something should be done, why something should not be. That is what is the gist of business ethics. They tell us what is to be done, how it is to be done. They give us norms of behavior. They explain to us the fundamental reason behind doing something or not doing something. Okay, so these are ethical standards which govern business activity, telling us what is to be done and what is not to be done. Okay, and how it is to be done, norms of behavior, and how something is not to be done. Essential features of business ethics can be governed by individuals' legal and professional norms. Okay. Number one feature is can be governed by individual legal and professional norms. They're not bound by only group norms or socially acceptable. They comprise all kinds of ethical behavior. Ethics में मैंने आपको बताया था when we studied ethics that they can be individual but they're universal in nature. They can be group based or they can be related to professional norms or professional do's and don'ts. Unlike laws, there is no punishment for violation of ethics. आप ethics violate करते हो कोई punishment नहीं मिलती, right? You don't do something, you cheat someone unless it is proved कि आपने कुछ fraud किया है, you cannot be punished for that activity. आपने किसी को cheat किया है, that is how you are cannot be punished. Unlike laws, there is no punishment for violation of business ethics if they're legally correct. Legally incorrect नहीं होना चाहिए. Business ethics are meant to guide people. What is the purpose of business ethics? They're meant to guide people as to what is right and what is wrong. Ethics are not binding on business. They're not binding on business. आप करना है करो, नहीं करना है मत करो. For example, हम लोग जब से the time since we started delivering books, I made sure that we are delivering books only in cartons. I think lockdown के time पे इस पे discussion भी हुआ था. Some students were asking, and we made sure that we are delivering everything in cartons and not in polybags. Even now, majority of the kits that we are creating are through boxes only and not through polybags because of course they are more safer for the environment. Okay, कुछ books के लिए polybags Amazon is forcing us because they are lighter, so if we take it in carton it takes more space, they charge more and they reject it at times. वो problems हो रहे हैं, but even then they're trying to use as much of carton or boxes as possible. Yes, Prashik has asked a very good question. Can we expect ethics questions in objective form? आ सकते हैं. They can and they will be asked. not only descriptive, there will be one or two at least questions on in objective as well. Importance plays an imperative role in this. अब लेमैन की तरह सोच लो बिजनेस एथिक्स का क्या फायदा हो? सबसे पहले ग्रोथ में फायदा करेगा लॉन्ग टर्म में, ओके, ब्रांड क्रिएशन में फायदा करेगा, टीम के मोटिवेशन में फायदा करेगा। ये तीन फायदे तो आपको साफ साफ दिख गए। लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ में फायदा हो गया कंपनी का, ब्रांड बेटर क्रिएट हो गया कंपनी का इन दी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, सर्वाइवल विल बी इजियर, ओके, इन द लॉन्ग रन मोर प्रॉफिट्स बिकॉज ऑफ a more loyal customer base, and you can also reduce your costs. A lot of companies are actually reducing their costs by using recycled material, okay, rather than using non-recyclable polybag kind of material. A lot of companies are doing that already. So long term, you might be able to understand, okay, how can I save money using this? For example, solar looks expensive, but a lot of companies are actually making money using solar लगा के पैसे भी कमा रहे हैं, they're saving money and they're making money using it. Okay, so that's how you can do it. Incorporates issues and principles of transparency, accountability, honesty, and trust. If stakeholders believe that the entity is they're dealing with is transparent, accountable, etc., build up trust. मैंने बोला था आपको trust, long-term relationship with all the stakeholders, not only with their employees but also with your investors, with your clients, with your stockholders, with your customers, all of them. Sustainable global competitive advantage. आपको कहीं ना कहीं it gives you competitive advantage at the international level also. Okay? High productivity, strong teamwork because the team is more motivated. They can identify with a purpose. So therefore, productivity increases, teamwork increases. Engine for economic development. Economic development is better, more sustainable. So macroeconomic पे भी सोच सकते हैं from the organization perspective, from the individual's perspective, and finally from the country's perspective. How business ethics is important. Creates loyalty in customers as they are able to identify and relate with the company. I hope it's clear. Simple question था, simple सा आंसर लिखा है. Layman की तरह भी सोचोगे, even then you can write the answers to these questions. Okay. I hope it's clear. Thumbs up दे दो. I know there are two less students because we're talking about phase 2 and more heavy on the brain because now we've got into descriptive answers, but that's how it is. Okay. Next question पे आते हैं. Let's come to the next question. What is the question? 38 हो गया already. Let's discuss the last question लेते हैं आज का. Okay. Because descriptive questions become very heavy on the brain. तो बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्कस करूंगा तो आपके सर के ऊपर से जाने लगेगा. ठीक है. So let's pick up question number 6. Define the term CSR or corporate social responsibility. Very simple question. First of all, define what is corporate social responsibility. What are the features? List down the arguments in favor and against CSR. देखो थोड़ा सा घुमा दिया. It's very easy to write arguments in favor of CSR. कोई भी बोल सकता है CSR is good for you or importance of CSR. But how to write arguments against CSR? There you might get a little confused कि भाई how to write or how to generate points against corporate social responsibility. Let's try and create it. First of all, you define CSR in very simple terms. Corporate social responsibility की कोई भी organization है वो एक particular level के ऊपर कमाती है. It earns above a certain level, turnover, net worth, profits over a certain level. It is expected or it is using resources of the society, so it is expected to give back to the society in the form of its social responsibility. A business is considered ethical if it tries to reach trade-off between its economic objectives and its social objectives or obligations. CSR focuses on a corporation's social and environmental contribution along with its economic contribution to the society. So CSR बोलता है you're not only responsible for economic contribution towards the society, you're also responsible towards social and environmental contribution towards the society. CSR is a company's commitment to operate in an economically, socially, environmentally sustainable manner while balancing interest of diverse stakeholders. मतलब आप एक sustainable तरीके से काम करो. That is what is corporate social responsibility. I hope it's clear. बहुत ही simple सी definition है. The way you understand CSR is the way you write. Okay. It is a continuous commitment by business to behave ethically and contribute to economic development while improving life of workforce, families, local community, and society at large. There have been a lot of movies internationally also about the importance of CSR. I'm unable to remember some movies related to them. I've seen some. जूलिया रॉबर्ट्स की एक मूवी आई थी CSR पे. पीपली लाइफ को बोले तो वो भी कहीं ना कहीं सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की बात करती है. सोशल और एथिकल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द जर्नलिस्ट इन द कंट्री. ओके, CSR नहीं हुआ टेक्निकली बट मोर रिलेटेड टू बिजनेस एथिक्स. There was one movie by Julia Roberts which was focused on CSR. तो उसमें क्या था? There was a company using which was creating some chemicals, and it was dumping the byproducts in the river, in the main river of the city. And because it had bribed the officials there, nothing was being done. But the long-term impact was that people had started suffering from cancer and various other diseases because of contamination of water and the local resources. Land is also getting contaminated. So what is it doing? It is not following CSR. Ethics to violate kar hi raha hai, but at the same time, it is not following social responsibility. I hope it's clear. Swadesh, the corporate social response. Swadesh was more about personal ethics than about corporate social responsibility. Okay. So, but good example. Features of CSR. In the long run, CSR is consistent with profit motive. Long run, mein, CSR is consistent with profit motive. For companies following CSR, it is going to benefit from more trust within the society, right? A more loyal customer base. There are a lot of people who still believe in buying Tata cars only because it is made in India and because it is socially so responsible. Maruti, you never hear of Maruti being acting as a socially responsible company, but Tata does it again and again. So over a long period of time, it has generated that trust among the people. And लोग बोलते हैं यार टाटा की गाड़ी लेंगे because it is socially responsible. By fulfilling its social obligations, business creates an environment which is ultimately good for it also. CSR is not against business profits and survival. Normal tendency for us to believe CSR करने के पैसे नहीं है, survive नहीं करेगी company, right? That's how we feel, but it is not so. Concept of CSR is closely related with ethical conduct. That's why we're getting confused between ethics and CSR. They are overlapping with each other, closely related. It involves application of moral values. CSR is a balancing act in satisfying companies' stakeholders with the desire to act ethically. It creates a balance within the organization. जो बुद्धा ने बोला था, balance is the gist of everything that you do. So CSR helps an organization create a balance. कि हमें बस यार पैसे नहीं कमाने, we also have to do something good for the society in one way or the other. Importance of CSR, good for retention of employees, good for motivation of employees, good for risk management. Okay? When there is a more corporate, socially responsible management, then the risk also goes down. Okay? Brand differentiation, Tata का example हो गया, helps minimize ecological damage because you are more responsible towards what your outcomes are. Reduce operating costs long term, as I said, business ethics, and at the same time, CSR also results or helps you in reducing your costs. A very good example is I was watching a documentary recently, I think on Netflix. And there was one episode on L'Oreal or some limited some similar company, and there was a term called as zero water output or something like that. Dry factory. Yes, the term was dry factory. What is the idea of dry factory? So all these cosmetic companies, they use a lot of water. Industries तो water use करती हैं. Cosmetic companies use a lot of water. So a dry factory is one which is whatever water it is using from society's reservoir, let's say the river or the lake in this local area, whatever water it is using, is making sure that it is recycling all that water and giving it back to the reservoir. So वो एक पूरा system बनाते हैं. They create a system so that they can put everything back or give everything back to the society. So L'Oreal or some similar company has this concept of dry factory, which is basically helping it reduce its operating costs also. They've seen that because they're more responsible towards giving back clean water to the society. Now they've come out with ways to reduce their consumption of water also, or to consume water in such a way that they're not creating enough. Okay, in the long run, it is helpful only. The gist is, or the trick here is arguments against CSR. How is CSR, or how can CSR be bad for an organization? Number one is business are meant to create profits. Governments are meant to handle all these social areas. A business ये सब कर लेंगे, what will the government do? The government will have nothing to do. They will relax. Okay. Okay. So business ही Coca-Cola, I got mixed up. So if the business is meant to generate profits, let it do it. If the government is meant to create all these systems so that everything remains clean, there is minimal ecological damage, etc., let it do it. Okay. Ankit Jai Singh, Maruti Suzuki is establishing driving schools as part of CSR. That's, I think, actually very good. I was not aware about that. एक CSR activity add हो गई. That means Maruti is also taking a leaf out of the book of Tata and trying to do something, right? CSR कर रहे हैं. That is why we are able to identify with them. अब अगर हम किसी और कंपनी की बात करें, Volkswagen or let's say Honda, probably they're not doing it, right? Or if all of them are, that means they are socially responsible and more active in whatever they do. Okay. Number two, policy of social responsibility means accepting. So this is because this is a criticism of CSR. It does not have to be ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपको अच्छा लगता है only then it is a criticism. You have to create criticisms in order to give the other side also. Means accepting the socialist view that political mechanism is preferable over market mechanism to allocate scarce resources. This may lead to inefficient usage of factors of production. So this is more of a capitalist ideology, capitalist ideological bent point of view, which says that agar CSR hoga, then you're accepting that a socialist society is good. It is the job of the government to take care of social needs. Number three, consumers will have to pay higher prices. Agar CSR hoga, to in the short run, at least there will be higher prices. जैसे अभी हम बुक्स बनाते हैं, we send it in a carton box, expensive पड़ता है. The carton box itself is let's say 50 rupees or 60 rupees. Polythene कितने की आती है? 3 रुपए की. Okay, the bigger carton box that I've got now 50-60 rupees, printed and everything. Polythene is 3-4 rupees. So because I am paying more, I will have to charge more from the student as well. So expensive पड़ता है. Okay, that is what it is saying in the long run. In the short run, in the short run, in the long run, it might not. I hope it's clear. तो यहाँ पे हमारा क्वेश्चन खत्म हो जाता है. So we've created some do's and don'ts or advantages and threats or disadvantages. Conclude भी कर सकते हो if you have enough space. Even if you don't conclude because you're writing it for the first time, you don't have to be perfect, but make sure that the core points are well laid out. वहाँ पर कोई weakness नहीं होनी. There should be no weakness. Okay. I hope you liked the session. I hope the session was helpful. I will try and come out with another session tomorrow. कल पहले थोड़े से we will try and take some objective questions first, and then we will take some descriptive questions after that. Okay? ठीक है? चलो, let's finish off with the question session. If you have any doubts, you can ask me, or we will finish off with the session. Okay, perfect. No doubts. I'll see you again tomorrow, probably at the same time or probably at 8 o'clock. 8 बजे मिलते हैं और फिर से कुछ we'll pick up some descriptive and some objective questions. ठीक है? All the best. Good night. Bye bye.